Okay, so we've learned about Boolean expressions that evaluate to true or false, and we're going to use those in if statements. If statements can be thought of as a selection control structure, right? It allows us to control or select what code to execute. So there's a couple of different types of structures we can do: binary, unary, chain without an else, which just do different selections, right? So binary, the key root word there is bi, right? Bicycle, so two. So it gives you two possibilities. You're going to select one of two paths or blocks of code. So if a Boolean expression evaluates to true, I'm going to do this code, else I'm going to do this code. Notice the braces here again, that's important. This starting brace and this ending brace, that's the denotes the start and end of the true condition, right? If this is true, do this. Else, if it's false, do what's between these brackets. Okay, and binary is very common, right? You're going to select between two paths. If age is less than 18, no, you cannot go to the liquor store, else welcome, right? So kind of you choose between two paths. Now unary, unicycle, right? One, basically it's just a single if statement without the else. It's like a binary, but you drop the else. And instead of selecting between the two paths, it's basically saying, hey, if this is true, do this, otherwise just continue with the program, right? So it's like, it's an optional thing. Hey, maybe I want to do this, otherwise I'm just going to keep going. You're not selecting between two paths. You're deciding, do I want to do this path or not? Okay. Chain selection is very similar to the binary, but you just add more things in between. There's the if-else, but you have these else-ifs inside. So if the first expression is true, do this, else. If the second expression is true, do this, else. If the third expression is true, do this, else. None of those expressions were true, so do this. Right? So again, it's similar to the binary that you must choose one of these paths. Either this one, this one, this one, or this one is kind of the catch-all, right? The else. None of those were true, so I'm going to do this. And you can insert as many of these else-ifs as you want. Right? And then chain selection without the else. So it's just the same thing, but you just drop the else at the end. And this is kind of like the unary, right? I might do this, I might do this, I might do this, but if none of these expressions are true, I'm just going to not do anything and just continue with the program, right? There's no final catch-all at the end. And then you can also put if statements inside of if statements, right? If you look at this if-else is kind of the outer control structure. There's if Boolean expression 1 is true, do this code, right? This bracket ends with this bracket. So that's what's inside. If this Boolean expression 1 is true, I'm going to do what's between those brackets, which is another binary if statement. If this is true, do this, else do this. Okay. And then the else part will have a chained selection statement inside of it, right? The else starts here, ends here. So there's an outer binary. The first section of that binary had another binary, and the else part of the binary has a chained inside of it. This is true, do this, else this, else this. I put kind of the 1 false, 3 false, 4 true, kind of shows you the path, right? The only way I'm going to get to this line of code is if 1 was false. So if Boolean expression 1 is false, I'm going to go to the else. And then Boolean expression 3 will be checked, and that needs to be false. So I go to this else, and then if Boolean expression 4 is true, then I will print this out. If Boolean expression 4 is false, I'd go to this else and print this out. You can kind of follow the logical path that it would take to get to each line of code. Okay, I wanted to, we'll see some code examples in some future, like we'll use these if statements in, do a Kung Fu Panda character, that webpage we made earlier. We'll make it alive with JavaScript so we can actually search up different characters, and we'll use if statements for that. But before we get there, I wanted to quickly do a little illustration. I'm going to try to use my little screen sketch here. Okay, so this allows me to draw on top of this thing. And I find with the binary selection, a good illustration that I've heard of is the idea of a road trip. So a binary selection would be something like you're traveling down the road and you come to a fork in the road. And you need to either choose to take this direction, or you need to choose to take this, oops, my pen's a little off, this direction, and then you would continue on. Right? So this is my binary. If one expression is true, I'll take this path, right, number 1. If that thing is false, I'll take this path, number 2. and then I continue on. But I must make a decision. I have to select one of the two paths, either this one or this one. Whereas the unary selection, right, you're driving down the road, and this is more like a roadside turnout. Or, again, maybe there's a roadside, there's a bathroom, right? You can stop off on your road trip and say, you know what, I need to go to the bathroom. So you'll go to the bathroom, and then you'll continue on. But you don't have to go to the bathroom. Maybe you'll say, actually, I don't need to go, and you'll just keep driving, right? It doesn't force you to make a decision like the binary. It's kind of saying, hey, if I feel like going to the bathroom, I will. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going. You either select a path or you don't. All right. Let me just do a new screen capture with the chained. Let me shut this down for a second. I'm going to scroll down and do a new one here. Okay. Now the chained selection, where there's the else here, right? This one is, we are going to do one of these, this, or this. I am going to choose one of those paths. So it's kind of like the binary, but this time, you know what, maybe I want to go to the bathroom and then continue on. Maybe I'm going to take a little walk, right? I remember driving to BC and there was like little hikes around lakes you could take. Or maybe I want to take a nap, or maybe I want to, I don't know, do something else. This is an awful drawing. Sorry, my pen's acting up on me. Anyway, the idea here is you must select one of these paths, right? Either 1, 2, 3, or more, right? Depending on your options. And if none of them are true, there's a final else that you do. And again, the chain selection without the else would be the same as the unary, but just more paths, right? There's my program. There's a roadside attraction. I either go to the bathroom, or I take my hike, or I go for a nap, right? But I could choose none of those if I wanted to, right? I can either keep cruising on my trip, or I do select one of these possible roadside attractions. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting illustration just to help you think about these different control structures. Anyway, Boolean expressions are important here, right? That evaluate, those are the tests, the condition that we test, true or false. And we will see them in action in the following videos where we start putting these into practice. Okay, so that was an introduction. Hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, take care and see you in the next video.